It's because I love my partner, and she'd get really upset if I didn't tune.
Exactly. Yeah, I hear that. Donna says that to me all the time. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending tonight's Filk Quest with my friend, Filker Dave Weingart. Filker Dave, as a matter of fact, is what he used to go as many years ago. I think you still do on
I
the
do.
live, dude. Yeah, still do.
Yep.
Good point. So let's see. So they don't have anybody yet in here, or people will probably coming in as we talk.
Okay.
So how you been, Dave? I haven't seen you in ages.
I've been good. Been really busy. Um, for a long time I was a road warrior, and just like going back and forth and getting time off was tough. And then, um, hi Donna. And then um, got laid off from that job, moved up to Boston.
I'm
Didn't really
sorry to
have
hear
time to
that.
see most of the people I know in Boston. Um, and then the pandemic hit, and we were in Charlotte for maybe, you know, 9 months or something before we came home to Jackson Hole, which is where I've been spending as much of my time as possible over the past 6 years. So it cuts down on things like convention time because priorities. And also, I mean, when you're on the road all the time, it's just rough justifying, hey, what do I want to do this weekend? Go to a hotel. Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. It's like busman's holiday from that point of view. Thinking about that, and occasionally it hits me that most of my friends in the filking world, and I think most of yours too, were all involved with the upper technology,
Mm-hmm.
either programmers or whatever. It seems to be. I mean, I'm thinking of the Mass Filk crew and
I think part of that is possibly a function of where the people are. So, like, I mean, I grew up in New York. A lot of friends in the Northeast, say, and the big hubs would be like New York, Boston. Now you're down in, Charlotte or Charlotte area. I guess you're in Gastonia,
yeah, right outside. Yeah.
but um, that's what a lot of the big industries are there. And to answer Alvarant there, you just get really used to it. It's after a while, one hotel's another hotel.
Just like having one big convention all the time.
Yeah, pretty much, except without all the cool people
I
to hang
thought,
out with. I apologize for the background noise, by the way. We
oh no, that's fine. It's not.
no, it's just that. So we live, as I mentioned, in Jackson Hole, and my partner's place that we both moved into. Well, she had been here before she met me. Um, it's fairly small, so right next to the kitchen,
And it's dinner time.
and it is dinner time. So she's got to cook and make noise, which is okay because she's also making awesome food.
Well, that's good. No, don't worry about that at all. We every once in a while you'll hear my dogs barking, so that's no big
Excellent.
deal. So, okay, well, where I usually start off is I start off basically by asking, how did you get into music from the very beginning?
How did I get into music from the very beginning, as opposed to how I got into filk from the very beginning? All right, well, standard thing. Get a recorder in third grade. Um, every kid gets one because I think the schools hate the parents. And I guess around fourth grade, the school music teacher, or one of the school music teachers, the one who was doing the band, said, "David, how'd you like to play bass clarinet?" I'd never heard of a bass clarinet. It was probably almost as big as I was at that point. So that's really where I started in music. I played bass clarinet in school band for uh, up until, I guess, up through 10th grade. And then I also played alto saxophone because marching with a bass clarinet is really, really tough, and marching with an alto saxophone is a whole lot easier. And as far as more folky music things, that was I was in college at that point when kind of in the Filk community, I said, oh boy, it'd be great to have an instrument I could carry around. And had a really cheap guitar, which I played very badly, and just kept going from there. And a couple of years of piano lessons right about when I was in college.
So how did you get involved with Filk?
Oh, I was primed for that from like the very beginning. So my mom had a bunch of old Alan Sherman records, and my cousin used to, at like the family gatherings at Passover and Thanksgiving, used to pull his guitar out and play Tom Lehrer songs, which was really my first exposure to Tom Lehrer. And that was a while ago. That was well before I got into fandom. To give you an idea of I mean, he's older than I am, but I was a young, like probably just about 13, 14 at the time they got my cousin married into the family, and we wore leisure suits to their wedding. So, and then I was in a D&D group, probably like first or second edition D&D, going back then in the late 70s in my high school. And one of the kids brought in this issue of Dragon magazine that had basically filks in them. And I said, oh, these are cool. I could write some of these. And I wrote a bunch of those. They're probably still sitting somewhere in an envelope at my parents' house. And then when I went to college, it's like everyone at the local science fiction club had just come back from Worldcon in 1980.
Okay.
Excuse me. And one of the things that someone brought with them was a copy of Filthy Pierre's Microfilk.
Ah, okay.
And a group of us from the club, sat around on the campus under these horrible lights outside at night so we wouldn't disturb people, singing songs out of this. And I guess at my first Fanish convention, which was the first last con in 1981, like January 1981, is when I kind of fell into Filk. And from there, that was it.
From that point, yeah, it's funny that you bring up Filthy Pierre. I have seen more of him in the last 3 or 4 years than I saw him when I was up in New England. He's been to a few of the conventions down here. He's at Congregate, and I believe he was at Con Carolinas. But I also just found out from our friend Janet, who runs Atomicon, that he's got a membership for that in May. So he seems to be doing some moving around and everything else like that. So it's good to see him. So basically, what you've been involved with quite a few organizations of setting up Filk conventions and stuff like that over your tenure.
I have. It's interesting. I've always said for many years, I've never, ever been officially like ConCom. I've run sound for conventions. I've staffed conventions. At a Filk convention, like I've never been one of the people really running the show. And that's by choice. People try and talk me into it. I'm like, I'm crazy. I'm not that crazy. But I have at different conventions, basically, I've been involved in Filk at basically every level of the convention, up to, from your little locals down to Worldcon.
Yeah, I know that Worldcon, I thought actually you were in charge of filking when you roped us into that. Millville 2000.
I was.
Yeah. I think you pretty much were in charge of
No,
that
I
job.
definitely was. It was all my fault. But that was the first one I did, and then I did a couple more after that.
From that point. It's always I didn't meet Donna until I came down to the Carolinas in 2007. At Con Carolinas, actually in 2006, and then we got married there in 2007. Uh, she was doing reg, I was vice chair, but anyway, it's the way life goes there. But I didn't know it at the time, but that year we were Boston and Charlotte were bidding for 2004,
Mm.
and Boston had got it. And at that point in time, well before I knew Donna, she had been part of the contact down here that was, as a matter of fact, what's his name, who set up the Filk, also did Con Carolinas, did all the legal work and for that.
Oh, couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Donna, who did all that work for the legal and stuff like that for Gefilk and Con Carolina, did the rules. But anyways, when she was on that convention, it was before it became Con Carolinas, and it just years later when I met, I said, "Yeah, we were the ones that got you guys from not having the WorldCon down here." So it's interesting how we pass in this actual in the community within itself.
Well, the community has always been traditionally, it may be less so now because I just don't have time. I'm a lot less involved, but traditionally, it was not uncommon for people involved in Filk to be involved in other things at the convention. It was less of a, I want to say, compartmentalization, and I've always tried to keep it that way. So if there's Filk going on, there's one school of thought that says, and it's not a bad school of thought. It says we have this WorldCon. Let's run a Filk convention within WorldCon. Whereas I'm like, we have WorldCon. Everything is here. It's even before I was running it, I always said the one convention where I do the least amount of actual sitting down in the open Filk was WorldCon, because there's so much else going on that I want to do.
Well, I think that's the same thing that happens, and I've never been to it, but quite a few my friends have been to it, is Dragon Con. And it's that same type of atmosphere where you have, if you're in the Filk area, you're basically there most of the entire weekend. If you're doing Star Trek, you're in the Star Trek track and stuff like that. And to me, that takes the flavor of a convention away from me. If I'm going to go to a convention as a spectator, which I very rarely do, because I have to work a con. I mean, I have to be doing something. I have to be pushing the films, or I have to be doing filking or something like that, or performing. Because just walking around, I personally, even though I love a lot of genre, I do a lot of reading online. So, going into the panels, it doesn't really matter. But a larger con like that, I would get lost at. I wouldn't be able to maneuver back and forth. I'd be in the Filk room the entire time. Even at the smaller cons like Congregate or MarsCon down here, or Con Carolinas, you'll find me always in the Filk room. Whoever's performing, I'm there watching and supporting, our friends and stuff like that.
Yep. It's one of those things where I don't want to, but I do want to, because I don't want to miss any of the music. But as with everything else, there are choices. It's like, okay, there's this great music thing going on, but there's also this looks like a really interesting panel on the science in the expanse. Like, okay,
Yeah, I'd be there.
which
Yeah,
one do I go to?
which one do you go? Exactly. Yeah.
But the nice thing about fandom in general is there's no wrong way to do it. There's literally, it's you are there to have a good time, and what what do you enjoy doing? And if what you want to do at the convention is go to the Filk room and spend your time just taking in the music, that's awesome. If you want to go to the convention and not go near any programming and hang out in the bar the entire time, which is very common at British conventions, by the way, it's like, that's also awesome. Like, you can't do it wrong. You do what, what's that Marie Kondo phrase? Does it spark joy? And if it sparks joy, you're doing it right. And if you're not enjoying it, then you're doing it wrong. Go do something that you enjoy. So, Alvaron, I hope you have an excellent time in the Filk room this weekend at WindyCon.
Yes, it's kind of, yeah. So what? I mean, have you? So you haven't really been hitting the conventions. Have you been missing those?
I have. I think the last convention I went to before everything kind of locked down was I did a half of Aresia. Actually, I did Aresia in 2019 because I was living in Boston and it's right there.
Yeah.
But most of the other time, we have the disadvantage of, hey, my partner lives in Wyoming and I'm on the East Coast. I'm spending a lot of time traveling there. That's really my travel budget. It's all priorities. Mm-hmm. Now, the one thing is, it's a lot different now. Like back in the day, if you wanted to see people, you had to go to conventions, you had to go to club meetings. And now you get a whole lot of interaction online. I mean, we're having this conversation right now, we're 1,800 miles apart. We have the Festival of Living Rooms that Lim has put on. It's like, this is great because I can see and hear these people. I don't actually have to travel. It doesn't entirely take the place of it, but you still get to interact. And for me, conventions are really all about interacting.
Right. Yeah, I had Bill and Brenda on a few weeks ago, and
Yep.
their bigger thing was the fact that they didn't really, they were okay with some of the Zoom type meetings, but they were burnt out over the pandemic by constantly being on Zoom. So that wasn't as appealing to them. And I guess I can see that, but in my thoughts, with Lem, with the living room, Festival of the Living Room, with a couple other conventions doing their things. I mean, Donna and I did a couple things ourselves. You get to, I met Lawrence Dean. I never would have met Lawrence because I'll never go to a British con, most likely. And
you should. They're great.
I would love to. They won't allow me out of the country. They found the bodies. But anyways, I mean, I would love to go over there. I really would. But the thing is you get that type of association with people that you don't normally get. However, I do agree, it's not being able to have the side conversations, and everything. And the worst thing to me was the last house Filk we went to before lockdown was the weekend at Larry's down there. As a matter of fact, I think we were trying to get you down to that one.
Yeah, didn't quite make it.
Yeah. But that was the last one we had. And I just went to work or I didn't even go to work the next day. I was starting a new position in my department, and they said, "Don't bother coming in." So I had to learn everything at home. But the fact is, I missed at first that camaraderie, and I felt solace by being able to, at least with the technology. 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's true. And again, it comes down to what you get out of convention. I mean, for probably 20 years, other than the Filk programming or something I was running, I never went to programming conventions because I'd hang out in the hallway and I'd say, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while," and you'd sit and talk to them and you'd say, "Let's go grab lunch or let's go grab a drink," or and again, the online does not in any way really make up for that, but it's better than nothing. And especially now, Jackson Hole is a great place. It's beautiful and many natural wonders, etc. But on the other hand, if you want to go to conventions, it's not the most convenient. It's probably one of the worst airports in the world to fly out of in terms of price, because most of the people flying in and out of here have a lot of money and they price it accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other option is, well, I could drive. I could spend a weekend driving out to Salt Lake or something, but conventions also traditionally happen in the lousy weather parts of the year because that's when hotels are cheap. And I live in the Rocky Mountains, and it's not a whole lot of fun driving over mountain passes.
No, and you might not make it going there. Just don't have Gary Ehrlich with you.
Yeah, I actually got snow tires put on my car this year for the first time in, I don't know, 30 years. You don't really need them in the Northeast. Certainly not parts of the Northeast I lived in.
Now, out in Western Mass, where I grew up, yeah, we needed them out there. Boston being more.
I didn't have a car in Boston. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, that's true too. But living out in Western Mass, we had a lot of snow, and there was a lot of. I lived in New Hampshire for a while in that, and so we're more of a suburbia than you would in the Boston area. But you see, were you in? You lived in New York proper, didn't you? The city.
Lived in the suburbs of New York City. I grew up on Long Island. For those who don't know where Long Island is, if you look at a map of New York City, you'll see this fish-shaped thing just off to the east. That's Long Island.
Yeah, we have more. I'd rather have the snow, to tell you the honest.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Than out there. I was thinking, being out in Wyoming, there's not really that much of a chance for you to have localized filking as well as conventions and stuff like that.
There is, as far as I know, absolutely no Fanish presence in this town. Officially we have, I think, 10,000 people. There are probably more than that, but a lot of them are seasonal. But you don't even get like the local one-day convention thing that runs at a library here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we'd probably have to. There might be something in Rexburg or Idaho Falls. Probably the closest really major city is Salt Lake City, and that's 4 or 5 hours, give or take, down south. I have no idea what goes on in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Well, I know. Well, see. Isn't that Danya Phil's area down in?
No idea.
I was just curious. I'm trying to think. They used to have. I think it was UFO. They used to call it Utah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Utah Filk Organization. I know. The only reason I know that is because Danya and I wrote a song together because of the internet. We wrote, so that's why I had a little bit of information about that area at one time. I don't even know if she's still active on the scene. I should probably ping her at some point in time.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, like back when I was really more active on the East Coast. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to things that were in places I was unlikely to ever go.
Mm-hmm.
Like Salt Lake, why would I ever go to Salt Lake City? And there's actually a really, really good gluten-free and mostly vegan restaurant there called Zest Kitchen. If you're ever in Salt Lake City, that's actually really good.
I remember you asking that question on Facebook a couple weeks ago. You were looking for a good gluten-free for a friend of yours, I believe.
A couple of weeks ago, really?
Yeah, or was it long? Maybe it was.
Must have been longer ago.
Yeah, it must have been longer because I
My
remember answering something. Maybe it
yeah,
was.
because my better half is gluten-free. So I know when we moved to Boston, and I think also, oh no, it was like a month or two ago. Because so, just a little divergent. Her parents live in Savannah, and they're having a party, and they want to have it up in like the Maggie Valley area, and we want to make sure she can eat when we're there.
Right. That's what it was. Yeah, you were looking for your friends in Charlotte. That's why I
yes.
Yes, I do remember that now. Yeah.
Because if you're in Charlotte or Raleigh, then you're closer to Maggie Valley than I am. Yeah. I'd never even heard of Maggie Valley till her parents said they wanted to have a party there.
How close is it? Well, I'll have to look that up at some point.
It's in North Carolina. It's not too far from Asheville.
Well, Donna says it's a nice area, so that's what you get for having. Well, she's not really a native. She was born in Maryland, so she's almost a Southerner. So.
Have you ever read the Maryland State song?
No, I haven't. But
read the lyrics one of these days.
Well, it's funny talking about that and I bust them all the time. Larry Kirby was born in New Jersey.
Was he really?
Yes, he was. He was there.
Wow.
I don't know how long he was there, but he said to me, we were talking about it one day, and he says, well, I was born in New Jersey. I said, you've got an accent like that? You were born in? He says, well, I guess his father had been in World War II, so when he came back.
Right.
He says, no son of mine's going to be raised in the North. And he came back.
Wow. So next time I see him, I'll have to say, damn Yankee.
Yeah, let him know. So as a matter of fact, I'm surprised he's not on tonight. He's been having some internet problems. Oh, yeah, it is that. Hey, I got a question for you that you probably know, and I always flubbed up on this. There at one time were 4 rotating Northeast conventions. I know there was Concertino. There was Cantata. I want to say
Counterpoint.
Right.
So the very first Northeast convention, which I don't think was actually ever part of the rotation, was Concerto.
That's the one I can't.
And that happened. Like I think that one had died before the rotation really got started. That was kind of in the Philly-ish area. I think the one I went to that I recall was Cherry Hill.
Okay. See, I didn't get into Filk until '98, and that was at a BossCon, where Larissa brought me in. That's where I met, Mass Filk and all that stuff like that. But I know that was just before they did Concertino. 98 was, yeah.
They all fade into each other at a time.
I know. I think it was '99 that we had Concertino. Because then I know that I was involved with 2001 when I came down here. Yeah, it is. It just mixes up, especially with the Northeast cons.
Yep.
Because they do, and now I guess they've combined it together and made it one.
Well, sort of. So I think what's happened is everyone was just burnt out, even running them every 3 years, because it's the same group of people, and it's really the same thing that a lot of different parts of fandom have had. Is you have to attract in more people who are interested in your particular thing. So filking the way we do it, as opposed to, say, the ones who are into like wizard rock, or the ones who are into more anime style stuff, or the kind of game tracks they did back at BronyCon when they had BronyCon kind of thing. And when you have this one small pool of people just doing the same thing, they're like, okay, we've done this. We're tired of doing this. If there's no one to step up, do it. And also, I mean, there's not, it's sad to say there's not really a growing pool of what I kind of consider core traditional folk. And this is not unique to filk, of course. People in general fandom, convention fandom, have been bemoaning the graying of fandom easily since before I got into it, in 1980. And it's not so much graying as things change. People have different interests, and at some point, I think what's going to happen is the filk conventions will go back to being, hey, we're this, group of people hanging out in a room and making music together.
Mm-hmm.
Which is okay in my book, because to me that's the best part of the convention anyway. It's really great to see the concerts. We have an amazingly talented group of people. Like, we have people who do professional touring musicians who, take part, and they're not just there to show up, and so they're part of the community. They are of us. But to me, the best part has always been, let's sit around and make music with friends.
Right. Yeah. That's sitting there. And I know you've been in a circle at some point in your time filking, where the people just come in, do their 2 songs because they are there because of the guests, and they're fantastic people. And we just want to do 2 songs, but we don't want to share in the community.
I haven't seen the guests of a convention.
Well, maybe not
show
so
up in
much
a
the guests,
circle, but I've seen people come into a room, do a song, and leave.
Yeah.
It used to annoy me, and now it's like, life is too short. This is what they're going to do, and I have no control over it. And meanwhile, I still get to hang out with my friends and make music.
When I take a look at, I took a break from filking for a little bit, and I went back to a Con Carolinas, and I walked in, and I've told this story to the person who actually was running the circle, Matricula.
Mm-hmm.
And Matricula was there, and I walked into this circle, and first thing I see is this plastic campfire sitting in the middle of the floor. And I'm sitting there going, okay. And then I go, is this a filk circle? And I go, oh no, this is the campfire.
That was me.
No, I know.
You're looking around because of the. Gotcha.
I'm looking. Larry's there and sitting there. Okay. And I honestly told her that I thought it was a bunch of bullshit. And she laughed, and I said, but after that weekend, and I realized that we were all doing the same type of music, that we were all there for community.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been great ever since there. And I think what I really like too, and we just had OVFF.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this pandemic, because of all this interaction we've had, did you notice that we had the most, in my estimation, the most new people on the ballots that we've had in a long time?
It's true. And it's, well, again, I'm glad to see it, because they said there are a lot of amazing people, like people I never would have heard of otherwise. Like, this is awesome.
And I think that's a good thing.
It's all. If someone's making good music and I like it, I don't really care who they are as such. But yeah, that ballot was kind of tough. I'm like, uh,
Yeah, I know I had some tough times with it myself, but I think the people who got it, of course, deserved it. It's always tough because when you take a look at it, at one time I really felt that it was too one-sided for different sections of the country.
mm,
You know,
well, this again is where the internet comes in, because again, back in the day, you're gonna hear um, you're gonna hear the people around you, right? You're gonna hear, like right now. Let's say there was no internet, and you're living in Gastonia. You're gonna hear the people at the conventions in basically the southeast.
right?
You know, when I was back in New York, I'm basically hearing the people in the northeast. Someone who's in the Midwest is basically going to hear like who's in the Midwest. And now it's a lot easier to get things out, even without going through the whole recording thing. Like I used to have delusions many moons ago of like doing a CD before I came to the conclusion that CDs were probably a dead art form anyway. But it's really easy for someone with very modest budget and very modest equipment to sit down, record something, have it sound halfway decent, and shove it online. And people all around the world can hear that, which means you get introduced to, instead of just having heard, oh, hey, there's this person in Germany who I've heard of, and I've heard one song on a copy of a copy of a copy of a tape. It's like, now, hey, here's their Bandcamp site, or it's streaming in the Filk archive. Let's pull it down. So, and that really makes it great. I mean, that's one of the things which is so much better now. It's really, really easy to see and hear people you never would have seen and heard otherwise. So the one year I went to Filk Continental, I mean, there are people there I had never heard of, because hello, they're in Germany, I'm in New York. It's 6 time zones and 8 hours of flying to get there. And now it's like someone can go on and say, sitting in their room, not physically meeting anyone, got a microphone, got a guitar or a keyboard or even just a voice, I can get this recording out. People can see and interact, hear it, interact with it. And I think that's great.
Yeah. It's the same way with the fan films that we do, the Star Trek fan films. Now, people, we're shooting them on these now. We don't, even though I've got a good camera rig, I mean, you're shooting them on these, you're getting them up on YouTube.
Yep.
And, you just, the quality of what you can do nowadays with, just basic stuff, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in another 20 years.
I hope to find out.
Yep. We'll see from that point. So I've been giving your fingers a little bit of a rest, but would you like to do something for us?
Sure, I could do that. I conveniently took the things I printed out. And yes, Alvaron, I know people still collect CDs. I mean, I gave up on physical media a while ago just because I was a road warrior and I was traveling all the time. So if I wanted to carry music with me, it was all downloaded. If I wanted books, they were pretty much all down. I mean, still prefer physical books, but realistically speaking, I can carry my entire library on my phone.
And right now, when we go out and perform, we have our tablets with all our music on it.
Mm-hmm. Let's try this one. Start with something soft-ish. On the edge of destiny, a wide and welcome shore, facing to infinity we go forevermore. Tomorrow she gleams with all of our hopes and our dreams, calling us in through her door. Sailing towards tomorrow on the ocean of the sky, Zeus is thunder borrow, and so outward then we fly. The stars are guiding flame, they call to us each one by name, beckoning to go where they lie. Reaching for forever with the starlight in our soul, bind ourselves together in the fire's echoed roll. Dreams, wonder, and flight, and nevermore fear we the night. Gladly we pay future's toll. Follow beauty's dreaming towards tomorrow's diamond gates. Sun and moonlight beaming as forever's trail we blaze. From sand on the shore to sky and then stars evermore, past reaching to future days. Tomorrow she gleams with all of our hopes and our dreams, calling us in to her door.
Very nice. Very nice. I have missed your music. Alvarant was asking if there was a Bandcamp page, and while you were singing, I looked it up. The only thing I see on Bandcamp for you is you're just a boy named Harry.
Is that, did I actually ever put that up? Really?
That was
Oh, wow.
that seems to be up there. Yeah.
So the answer is I don't actually have a Bandcamp page. Wizrocklopedia, bandcamp.com.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought was rather interesting. That's what I pulled it up.
I will have to look at that. I've never heard of that page before. I know at one point, I think I set up Bandcamp. By at one point, I mean like 10 years ago.
Well, it did look like you had shorter hair and a little bit more then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Just, I think there's an inverse relationship between hair and waist.
Oh, yes. Without a doubt. Speaking of that song, Just a Boy Named Harry, I think you wrote that well before Wizard Rock got off the ground.
I wrote Just a Boy Named Harry when I was halfway through the first book. Like, I literally hadn't finished the first book. There was no second book, third book, etc. It was just, and I said, okay, I have to write this song. Or rather, the song said that I had to write it. But yeah, I didn't. I literally had not finished the book.
Yeah, to me, that's one of those songs like Matt Leger's Simple Country Doctor. I always, when I think of you, I think of Boy Named Harry.
I probably have the lyrics here somewhere in this pile of papers. I wasn't very organized, or I could fake
Filker
it.
time. I was saying Filker time, Filker organization.
Well, it's so I can't really read very well on tablets when I'm doing music, and I don't have a tablet anyway. So this is one of those things where technology, either I do it from memory or or I need it printed out. So I could play it if you wanted. It's all up to you.
I love that song.
I never knew my parents. They died when I was small, and my uncle and my aunt who raised me had no love at all. All my life I've waited, just trying to get by in a world where I'm not wanted, in a place I cannot fly. Then upon my birthday, wondrous and strange, magic came into my life, and things began to change. And now they tell me that I'm famous for something that I did, but I'm just a boy named Harry, an ordinary kid. There is magic in the sky, there is magic in the wood, there is magic strong in darkness, stronger still in good. There is magic in the sorrow, magic in the joy, and magic in the heart of a boy. I feel like I belong here, but I wonder if they know. Can they see the fear that's in my eyes? Does my hesitation show? Most of them accept me, most are just like me, and most of them are frightened of the parts they cannot see. They cannot know what happened in the dawning of my life. They cannot feel the emptiness that cuts me like a knife. They only see a legend as I learn to be a man. But I'm just a boy named Harry, and I'll do the best I can. There is magic in the sky, there is magic in the wood, there is magic strong in darkness, stronger still in good. There is magic in the sorrow, magic in the joy, and magic in the heart of a boy. All my life I've waited, just trying to get by. But now I've learned about myself, now I've learned to fly. And to friends and those who love me, it doesn't matter what I did. To them I'm just plain Harry, an ordinary kid. There is magic in the sky, there is magic in the wood, there is magic strong in darkness, stronger still in good. There is magic in the sorrow, magic in the joy, and magic in the heart of a boy.
I think I was there when you first brought that to a con.
You might have been. You
I
might have
remember.
been. It was a long time ago.
I was, I think about the songs and the people and that were coming out at that time that are standards now, and how many we were there when they actually were brought out. I was there the night that Dan Glasser wrote his that what I mean, 4 o'clock in the morning, Dan's
Yeah.
out there. And then I said to him, well, you should put that in for those children. And he says, now I said, yeah, go ahead, like an idiot, because I came in third because he was second that year. But it's the funniest things that happen, and those are the memories that you can't get on the internet.
That is 100% true.
Yeah,
And those, and there are certain things that go to the conventions. You can think,
Graham Leathers. Graham,
hey, Graham.
I have been trying to get in touch with you to do this program, sir. We need to talk.
he's been moving to Canada, eh?
Yeah, I know he has been. I haven't talked to Graham in years, but yeah, sorry about that. I'm sorry, Dan.
No, that's okay. I was just saying there are certain things. Music really has a very kind of powerful magic to it. In certain songs, and this is true of filk, it's true of non-filk, there are certain songs you can hear that song and say, that song associates, I associate this particular thing with it. And it's just as true of your own things. There is, when I wrote The River, for example, I can tell you, it's the only song of mine I can tell you exactly when and where I wrote it. Mm-hmm. It was like in the hallway at Millville, outside, just before the Filk concerts were wrapping up, and it was a little before the Dead Dog. I'm like, okay. And I was sitting there, that's where I wrote the song. And then, or going back to more mundane songs, there is this, particular Joni Mitchell song that I hear and I think, oh my God, there was going to the beach with my best friend at the time, who was the kid who lived behind me, and his mom was driving in her little teeny Volkswagen. And that song was on the radio, and that, bangs out from there. The song was Help Me, by the way, in case anyone was wondering.
I'm wondering if music for our generation was the thing that tied us together in certain areas, where in today's the millennials and the X Factors and all that, there's video games and stuff like that.
I don't think that is any less true. I mean, someone pointed out in the chat, I'd have to scroll up to see who it was, that people have been telling stories and singing songs for 10,000 years. And I don't think it's just thank you.
Yeah,
that was it. I think it's not that music doesn't do it for them. It's just different music, and it's stuff you're probably not going to hear unless you're in that demographic. I mentioned BronyCon recently, and my younger son was really into My Little Pony Friendship's Magic for a while, and went down to a couple of conventions in Baltimore. And one of the things he always talked about was, one of his favorite parts of that was they'd have these basically big things where people would be getting together and playing music either inspired by or riffing off the show. And, he made a lot of really good memories out of that. So it's not that it's the music, they don't do it anymore. It's just different music. And if you're not in the area where they're doing it, you're not going to key into that. It's not your demographic.
Yeah,
in the same way, people who were older than us had Woodstock and the music of that, and there's a lot of great music there.
I
but
guess
we're
they
not.
like that much.
Yeah, but we're not going to have those
No.
formative memories that they had. And I really, it really comes down to there is something really primal about gathering together in a community and telling stories and singing songs. And we do it in one particular way, but there are so many other ways out there that people do it. And again, it goes back to Kipling. There are 9 and 60 ways of constructing tribal lays, and every single one of them is right.
Right. Yeah, just like give me a definition of filk. Yeah,
Filk is what
exactly.
I point to when I say filk.
Yeah. You know,
What was the other one? Filk is a matter of symbolism and intent, which riffs on something that Randall Garrett wrote in his Lord Darcy stories.
okay. It's just crazy. Yeah, and I don't know why I said that because I've seen the participation that people get on Twitch. I don't know why I was thinking that line at that time. I think what happened was I went back to the days of us all sitting and trading, the songs at those
Mm-hmm.
conventions and not really seeing that as much anymore. But yeah, when you think of it, there's a new medium, and we're comfortable sitting in that. A lot of people would embrace the online stuff like they are doing now.
Mm-hmm. Doing things
Yeah,
on Twitch, they're doing things on TikTok. There's people, I think, really in aggregate, it's not obviously every single person, but people have this need to create, and people create in different ways, and they create around things that speak to them, that really kind of touch them here. So for example, you're involved with all these fan films. You're doing it because this is something which speaks to you, something you love, something,
right.
it's like it touches you. um, I'll go out and I'll write a song, or you'll go out and write a song. People are doing other things. My partner, among her many things, is a silversmith, and she creates jewelry.
Ah,
You
okay.
know, um, and but people want to create, and they want to create around things that have meaning to them. And the form, for some people, the form, like for us, that form is going to be songwriting and music. Um, for others, it will be sculpture or painting or photography or fan films. Um, and then there are also members of the community who don't feel that need to create, but still take part in it because, what you used to say back in the day was they also feel who only stand and tape.
I think we also used to say you have to have listeners. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have an audience to really enjoy. I think I said it recently on an interview that if it gives you passion,
Mm-hmm.
you go out and you do it. When it becomes a job, then it's time to move on.
If you can make money out of your passion, I'm all for that.
Well, what I mean by a job is when it comes to the fact that you look at it as a job and not as a passion.
Yeah.
You go out there and you do it. I've got to do this because I made a commitment here and stuff like that. Instead of saying yes, I want to do this because it gives me joy. That's when you should look at it from a different point of view and say, is this what I really want to do? But
Mm-hmm.
follow your dreams.
Yep.
I tell that to people all the time. Go out and write a song. Go out and do a fan film.
Yep.
Go out and do whatever makes you happy, because the world right now gives you a lot of tools to be able to do a lot of different things.
It does. And I'm all for people using them.
Well, we're up at the top of the hour. Would you like to sing us out?
Sure. Should I find something? What should I find here?
Whatever gives you passion.
Well, they all give me passion. Any song that I write that I hate, nobody ever hears. I throw it away, and I just stop singing it. Well, I don't throw it away because sometimes I'll rip it apart and do things later on with it. I'll have to stand up for this, I think.
Neverwhere?
Oh, I could do that. I have to find it in this pile of papers. Interesting story for that one, by the way. I had read the book. I had never seen the show. And I hadn't read the comic either. See if I can pull this one off. Boom. But I do need to stand for that one.
That's fine.
It also means I need to hold on. Because I had not bothered putting the strap on. Oof. Man, is it loud over there as it is over here?
Sounds good here.
I walk down the street, my jaw thrown open wide. The world I knew is on the other side. It seems they're blind who once could see. My life is now a shade in some unreality for the choice that I have made. Never where am I going, never where have I been. Never when will I understand the things that I've seen. Never who am I now, am I a man or a dream? Another soul down below in never where. I follow the track of the only two I know. I slip through the cracks to the city down below. As above is so below, different yet the same. Death stalks waiting every turn, release me from this game. Never where am I going, never where have I been. Never when will I understand the things that I've seen. Never who am I now, am I a man or a dream? Another soul down below in never where. I don't know who I can trust. Plans are within plans. Who the door and who the key? Who angel, beast or man? A challenge answered saves my life. Bring me to my death. But still I draw the hunter's knife. Draw courage, draw my breath. I fight back to the life that I once knew, and find I cannot live with what is true. The world above I cast aside, no longer is for me. I'll walk below with hunter's pride, know where I must be. Never where am I going, never where have I been. Never when will I understand the things that I've seen. Never who am I now, am I a man or a dream? Nevermore I now belong to never where. Never when, never who.
Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you so much, Frank. It's great to see you again.
It's great to see you again. And anytime you want to come on, just let me know if you have anything that you want to push or anything that you want to say. Be more than happy to have you on. So that being said, everybody, thank you for joining in tonight with my guest, Dave Weingart. Any conventions that you foreseeably see in the future, any place?
We might try and go back to FinCon at one point because we had such a good time going to Finland. But I don't see anything, and we have a lot of things going on. So I don't foresee convention travel at any time soon, just because the budget is. We have other things we need to spend things on.
Yeah, I can certainly understand that. I can yeah, like building starship bridges in your mother-in-law's garage.
Oh yeah, I was thinking building a house, but
Okay. Once again, thanks, Dave, for coming on. Graham
Thanks
says,
so much
"Well
for
done,
having me."
Dave." Yep, yeah, it's been a pleasure. And Donna still is dreaming about going to Hawaii.
I can't blame her.
Okay. All right. Take care, everybody. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of the week. Thank you for joining us. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.